Our adventure brings us to Salt Lake City to explore the legend of Jean Baptiste, graverobber. This is one of Utah's most intriguing legends, mainly because of the gruesome topic. Not much is known about Mr. Baptiste. He was supposedly born in 1813 in Ireland, but people who knew him in Australia thought maybe he was from Italy because he couldn't speak English very well. What we do know is in 1855 he immigrated to the US, and by 1859 he was living in Salt Lake City. He built a small house by the cemetery, got married. He was employed as a grave digger at the cemetery. This would be the perfect cover for what was next. In January of 1862, Moroni Clausen escaped prison and later was tracked down and shot by police and killed. Nobody came forward to claim his body, so a generous police officer helped pay for his burial. Moroni's brother showed up not too long after the funeral and wanted to move his brother. When they unburied his brother, they noticed he did not have any clothes on. Moroni's brother became very upset and started asking questions. The police officer that paid for Moroni's funeral instantly said, "No, I paid for his funeral and his clothes, and I watched him get buried with them." Eyes quickly turned to the gravedigger, Mr. Baptiste. It didn't take long after entering his house to see a box full of burial clothes. So off to jail he went. This is the scene of the crime, the cemetery. Mr. Baptiste worked as a gravedigger, which gave him easy access to the bodies because it was his job to bury the coffins after the funerals. And we can only assume that when everybody left after the ceremony, Mr. Baptiste would open the coffin, steal their clothes and their jewelry. He did this over 300 times, and this did not make the people of Salt Lake very happy. There was almost a riot, so they felt they better move Mr. Baptiste to a safer location because they didn't want him to die that soon. They wanted him to suffer for his crimes, so they loaded him up in a wagon one night and hauled him off to Antelope Island and left him there. Alright, that's enough of the city. Let's go to Exiled Island, better known as Antelope Island. And so late one night, they loaded up Mr. Baptiste in a wagon, brought him to the shores of the Great Salt Lake and loaded him on a boat. And then they brought him out here to Antelope Island. It's not really an island anymore. You could walk out of this place now for sure. And that's why he didn't stay here long. They were afraid he was just gonna wade across the lake and make it back to Salt Lake. The Salt Lake's right over there. Not too long after they dropped him off here, they came back, threw him back on the boat, and hauled his butt over to Fremont Island. They figured Fremont Island was a safer place to put him. The water was a little bit deeper. And then about 6 weeks later, the ranchers that ran the cattle on that island noticed one of their cows were dead, and it had been skinned and cut into strips. And there were some missing boards off their little shanty on the island. So they figured he probably made a raft and either made it off the island or drowned in the lake. Somebody did report seeing Mr. Baptiste at a mining camp in Montana, but it's just a rumor. Nobody really knows what happened to the grave robber. If he's still out there, well, he's dead now. That was a long time ago. But they were worried for a long time if the grave robber was ever going to come back and steal more stuff from their loved ones. Batista's ghost is said to walk the southern shores of the Great Salt Lake. It's so crazy, I can't believe it still looks green out here. It's like we had a second spring. Weird weather. Okay, there's a little homestead up here on Antelope Island. I can't pronounce the name. It's Frere or something like that. They faced hardship, tragedy, and isolation. Now let's go look around. I guess they left here in 1902. In 1891, George Frere built a house on this 160-acre homestead. 6 years later, his wife dies and lies to rest in this burial site. Like a little time capsule. Lockbox. That's pretty cool. This would be a pretty view if you lived here. So we got a few little artifacts here. I don't know what that is. Maybe a wheel hub for your wagon. Door hinge. It's like an old plow. Well, they did pick a homestead with a spring. There's a natural spring up this wash. Probably up where all those trees are. Maybe even up higher. That's where they got their water. Because you can't drink the Great Salt Lake unless you want to die. We'll see if we can find any more wild animals after we go check out the Garr Ranch. Because it's supposedly haunted too. I guess there is a little tiny bit of water still coming out of Farmington Bay. Not very much though. And supposedly the water level's low enough that you can walk to Fremont Island right now too. But we won't be doing that. I think it's 6 miles one way just to the edge of Fremont Island. If the water's low enough. And then, I don't know how big Fremont Island is, but it's probably a good 5 or 6 miles long too. Lots of buffalo up on the ridge. Last time I was here, there was a geocache box right here by the old sheep herder trailer. Let's go look to see if it's still here. Can't remember. Yep, it's still here. Not much in this one. Let's put it back. I haven't ever been in this room. Got a bunch of old antiques. There's all your common tools you'd need as a farmer and a rancher. Old washer. Some old sleds and a bike. There's a good sharpening stone for your knife. Axe. The Garr Ranch was settled in 1848. It is one of the oldest ranches in the West. Some say this ranch is haunted, from strange occurrences to ghostly activity. Ghost hunters have spent countless hours and many nights searching for the spirits. Maybe you'll find one if you come out here. Fielding Garr passed away at the ranch house in 1855, and there's no record of where his body was buried. I wonder what those are for. These woods behind the ranch is said to have a dark energy lurking in the shadows. Some people have left these woods with unexplained scratches and strange feelings of sadness and disorientation. They got a pond. Must be a spring. Nice. These weeds are like 12 feet tall, maybe even taller. Well, this is why they didn't leave the graverobber on Antelope Island. They were afraid he was going to get across. The bison were reintroduced to the island in 1893. Now this herd of bison is one of the oldest and the largest publicly owned herds in the nation. They can eat 40 pounds of grass in one day, so that's mostly what they do, eat grass. Okay, they're moving in for their close-up. These two guys are just kind of little. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.